Talking about Bud, some are now saying he's the greatest of the last 3 generations because he's 3 times undisputed. Longevity, outlasting someone or many others, it doesn't make you the greatest, right? It just makes you the most longevity guy. He was hiding in the shadows. He was hiding in the shadows for the longest time until he was able to, with the help of, whomever the establishment at the point in time is, with those help, got to where he got to, right? So, looking at his career, when you're talking about 3 times undisputed, how did he get there? He didn't get it from collecting every single belt, right? He got it from maybe unifying it twice or something like that. We're talking about Postal and then Ndongo for him to win the undisputed the first time, and then he beat Jeff Horn and then fought Errol Spence, who Errol Spence took each strap individually from those other title holders. Whether or not it was legitimate, he was one who picked him up. Yes? So then he goes and he fights Canelo, who I believe Canelo at that point had picked up all 4 individually. Right? When you're looking at greatness, in this picture, this is a picture of Michael Jordan versus LeBron James, right? LeBron James got all the stats and everything, and they're saying he's better than what Michael Jordan was because of his longevity, right? And I put that on. I wrote that in the 10-time scoring champion versus the 1-time scoring champion. Usually the scoring champion in basketball is the best player of the year. Okay, and usually the MVP, because the game of basketball is putting the basketball in the hole. That's the whole point of it. So the guy who's the best at doing that is usually the MVP. 10-time scoring champion versus 1-time scoring champion, right? But again, people like to misconstrue this thought of longevity with whoever is the greatest at the time, right? And so you're skipping over so many fighters that were better than Terrence Crawford for more than a decade. Yeah? To the point where even when the script was written, they were talking about, if he loses to Canelo, then his career is just kind of blah. And that was coming from his greatest cuck, Max Kuckerman. Right? And so you're talking about a career that followed very closely to somebody like a Dudu Andredotti, Demetrius Andrade, but, people give him funny names, where before fighting David Benavidez, people were saying he was the greatest of his generation at 160 and 154, and they just forgot about everything because all they did was look at how many years active he was, looked at his title count and all of this stuff, without actually looking that, yeah, he was competing with the guys that were at his level, but there was a whole different tier of level above him that he was not even competing at, So with Crawford, again, you didn't fight anybody. Yes, he beat Spence and Crawford, or Spence and Canelo at their absolute worst. Yes, that doesn't make you the greatest of the generation. I always talk about, I think I was one of the first to bring it up as a boxing channel, talking about MMA, right? UFC's Georges St. Pierre going out on top, retiring out on top, even though his last 2 wins were manufactured against, I think, Carlos Condit and Hendricks, right? He lost those two. Going out on top, and then people just looking at the paper and saying he was the best, even though Anderson Silva was like the pound for pound best for like 10 years straight, right? They're doing the same thing with Crawford. And when I talk about my last video, which I just made, the leaked script went as it was scripted, right? And it reminds me of something that happened like a decade ago. Maybe not even a decade ago, right? It happens a few times every time you see something where all of these so-called experts and all of these people with the high-profile names, they're losing all of their credibility for like a while, like 1 or 2 years, yes? Because all of the predictions are wrong. They don't know shit about boxing. You can see that they just don't even try. They don't give a shit. And then all of a sudden, all of them come together to give this crazy prediction. And all of the unknown experts are trying to, I was going to say rebuke, but I don't even know if that's even a word, right? Let me look it up. They're trying to contradict it, saying, you're wrong. And then the fight goes as planned, and it goes all of the experts were right. And they all just came together as one and just predicted everything right. Crawford Canelo seemed like it was this one. Obviously, in my opinion, they had insider information. And when rebuke, I just looked it up. It is a word, right? So I'm thinking like Kovalev versus Ward 2, right? Where all of the experts were predicting that he was going to win the rematch, even though in the first one he showed nothing. Basically, he lost like 10 out of the 12 rounds, right? And didn't show anything that could even remotely give an expert like they said that Ward was going to beat Kovalev so confidently, right? And so yes, people did rebuke it, or whatever, but Ward beats in Kovalev's nuts, wins by TKO, and all of a sudden all the experts are right. Now they're all being put on this pedestal because they got that one right. And I think it also happened with another, ironically, Canelo versus Golovkin 3, I think, right? I could be wrong, where a lot of these so-called analysts and experts, they all said Canelo was just going to wash Golovkin. And then, the fight happens, Golovkin took the bag and went home, basically. Literally went home, never showed his face after that, right? And so, yeah, this stuff happens, and I'm sure there's more examples of that, too, where it's like all of the, quote, people are picking the same person with zero knowledge, zero explanation, zero nothing. He just got it, right? And so you look at examples of that, and when you're looking at Crawford Canelo, it would almost seem like that too, right? Where all of these, quote, experts and analysts were going, not always right. And then all of a sudden they're just right with no explanation, but they were all on the same page, right? Which, it is what it is, but I think people need to stop saying this stuff just because he outlasted other people. Now he was the greatest of this generation. Like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Like, you just forget. You're just in the now, but the now is only within the last 24 hours. You're just not even considering anybody else, right? Because you've just creamed your pants so hard Thanks for watching.